Hey guys and girls, I'm excited to have Zachary Young with me today. He's a brilliant business strategist and author of the number one best Amazon bestseller, The SlingShot Maneuver, which I have with me here. He inspires me with a lot of his business wit and wisdom, and I could actually brand him as the Zhuge Liang of the business world. So I know this interview will be very beneficial for my audience because of his expertise in business and operations. So let's start the interview straight. So Zachary, could you tell us more about yourself, what you do, and what are the milestones that you have achieved, and what drives you? What is your inner calling?
Hi, Wei Jie. Thanks for having me on. It's my privilege to be here. So, hi everyone. A little bit about myself. I'm Zachary Young. Some of your or what Wei Jie was mentioning. I was the former CEO of Next Level, and yes, I did quite a bit of business, interesting business stuff there. So, I think that's what he interviewed me for, and I'll be sharing some of them. And yeah, a little bit about what I do and mainly what I do is that I help to grow business. So some call it a strategist, some call it a consultant, some call it a skilling expert. But yeah, I basically help entrepreneurs and business owners to grow their business at an exponential rate. So that's my expertise. And yeah, so Wei you asked quite a number of questions inside that question. So which one are we at now?
Uh, what are the proud milestones have you achieved, and what drives you to achieve all of them?
Okay, so some of the things, milestones that I've achieved that I'm quite proud of, was I think in my last company, in Next Level, I managed to take them from 1 mil, grew them from 1 mil annual revenue, to 10 mil within just 1 year. That's one thing. But quite a close second to it, or maybe sometimes I would say first is to take them to 17 mil in sales revenue in about 3 years. During my point of time when I was there. So yeah, that's what I'm actually quite one of the milestones which I'm quite proud of. And as for what drives me, I think the what drives me is the idea of fun. Um, Fun because to me, unlike most people think business is to make money, which business must make money. I agree, but to me, money and all is a kind of like a game. So business to me is like a game. A business is a game of life, a game of business, and money is just the way to keep score. So of course, I want my score to be as high as possible, which is the money to be as high as possible. But yeah, I what keeps me reading about business, learning about business, all this kind of things. It's the fun involved. So to me, I'm just playing a very fun strategy game. Yeah, that's how I see it.
I see. That is great. That's a great philosophy, right? So, Zachary, if someone wants to achieve what you have today, what is the one piece of homework you will get them started with, like to really start off?
Mm. I think I think it's not just for to achieve what I have achieved. I in fact I don't think I have achieved much. I think I can achieve even more. Still young in the game, right? But
Yes.
I think if you ask me, one of the things that I had that was helpful for me was that I was since young, I was always trying new things. I was always trying new things. So a lot of people, even in my previous company, they joke that I'm a Zach of all trades, right? Because I happen to know a little bit of everything: marketing, operations, sales, finance, everything, and sports as well. Almost every sport you name, I can play it, and above average kind of skill as well. So and the reason for it is because I have this I live by this quote by Albert Einstein. He says that I have no talent. I'm just uh, passionately curious, right? So everything I just try, and I'm very familiar with the concept. Every time when you try at the start, you will fail a bit, or you won't. You just gotta have a very thick skin to do it. So what happens is I try a lot of things, and of course I fail, and at the start when you do something, you're not very good at it. But I think what helps was that I have a thick skin, and as a result, I try many things, and every time, I just keep trying. I learned a lot of new things because of my thick skin, and suddenly I realized that I have a bunch of skill set that is at my fingertips. So whatever I'm doing today, I'm just reassembling, rearranging all this random skill set that I've got. So I think one good thing I will tell people is try whatever, especially when you're young. Just keep try new things. Try to don't. I know a lot of people talk about being specialized at all in something, which I agree. But sometimes when you're young, I think it's too early to specialize because you don't even know what you're good at. You see, so I mean I can tell you interestingly, one of my what people know me for strategy. I mean, that one, yes, it's been through my entire life. But another thing that people know me for is in systemizing and scaling, right? I only discovered this skill when I was 29, right? So I mean, can you imagine at 28, you think like, I'm going to specialize something, at 27, I'm going to specialize something, but maybe your greatest superpower might be coming 2, 3 years down the road at 29. And then now I'm 37 this year for those who don't know. And it always intrigues me, or it always is in a way of like I'm very curious, like maybe at 39, 2 years later, I might discover my new superpower, right? That my new skill. So yeah, I never write myself off like, oh, this is what I'm known as. I always constantly reinvent and constantly learn new things. So if there's one thing I would say, keep learning new things, and one day it will make sense why you learn what you learn. Like what Steve Jobs say, right? You can only connect the dot backwards. So yeah.
That's an awesome answer, right? So try new things and be thick skin. Sometimes we really do not know what are the gifts that are bestowed to us, and sometimes the part about entrepreneurship is the word reinvention, which is very, very true in business. So I have read your slingshot maneuver in like probably finish it within a week. And it was very, very inspiring and also very aspirational. So for all the business principles and frameworks that you written into this book, right? Do you develop them yourself or did a mentor guide you along the way? I'm just curious how you created these frameworks.
I see. Okay, so what I tell people, right, is number one, all these frameworks and principles are things that I personally experienced myself, right? I personally experienced myself, and I just distilled them and summarize them into this book. And I wouldn't say that I'm the guy who came out with all of it, because what happens is that as I was doing some of the things like keeping scoreboards and all this naturally, just because I like to keep track of things, right? And then when I started reading other business books like Great Game of Business, right, then I realized, hey, they also keep a thing called a scorecard. Mine is a scoreboard, they call it a scorecard. And then when I read another book like, let's say, Traction, or I read another book like Scaling Up, right, I realized they all have similar elements. So I would say, number one, yes, I tried some of things even before I read those books. And then after I read those books, it reinforced like, hey, this is what the other business books are talking about. But the problem about most business books is that it's very boring, to be honest. So what I did was that I read all of these. I also summarized and then plus my own flavor added into it. Try to make it simple, easy to read. So a lot of people, when they commented, when they read the book, they can imagine me telling them about it, because those are things that I left out. And in fact, I worked in a few companies before that. Then I always ask, and sometimes I meet up with those colleagues, right? Those from the former companies. And I told them that for some people, when they read this, it's like a textbook, it's like a business book. For you, when you read it, it's like a history book, because now suddenly you understand why I did what I do. So yeah, it's very interesting. It's basically a collection of things that I literally did and helped I did during my time to help to grow the business, and I just record it down somewhere lah. So yeah.
Okay, cool. That's great answer. So if it's not a business secret, right, could you share with us like how do you really help next level to get from 1 mil to 10 mil within 1 year? And that is like a very powerful achievement because Sean didn't manage to do so until you came into the picture.
So I mean, it's not really a business secret. There's many things, right? But the simplest thing I always joke and I tell people is that I just to help them scale from 1 mil to 10 mil, I just added a zero behind their price tag lah. So
Okay.
so I mean, that's a long Short version of it. But the long version of it is obviously, I mean, if we all could just 10x our business by adding a zero, everyone will do it, right? But in order to do it, there must be other things in place, right? Number one, there must be the confidence to sell the thing. I realized that a lot of people didn't have the confidence to sell a higher price ticket. And a lot of it has to do with the internal. So it's a lot of mindset, it's a lot of personal being identity. So being able to sell high ticket, I mean, yes, we add one zero behind, but I can add a zero behind, but can you sell it, right? So in order to sell it, we must change the head and the heart or the identity. That's one thing. And then of course, number two is that you can sell something at a 10x cost, but the thing is the value perceived to be 10x cost, right? And do the customers think that it's worth the 10x? Because if it's not, then you're going to get a lot of complaints. People are going to say you're not able to deliver and things like that. So second thing probably, I mean, or third thing is to really develop a product that you know that, hey, this really can help people, this really can deliver results, which I'm very proud of the product we delivered during that period of time. So yeah, we have to develop a very, very good product. We have to increase price, and we have to also improve our people, our speakers, the entire team's mindset as well as the identity, so that then when with all of these things together, yes, revenue scale. But yes, it took 1 year, but I must say that there's a lot of amazing people in Next Level. So Sean had the foundations there already, and all I did was just to rearrange, re-strategize. They were doing, I mean, I didn't change what they do. They were teaching about investment education way before I was there. I just changed the way it was being taught and the way it was being sold. So yeah.
Okay, that brings me to another question. Like when you say changing their being to selling a ticket that is highly perceived by the market. So were you the one who trained their mindset, or did they have someone else to train their mindset?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, I was the one who trained them on the mindset, because it was quite a big difference. Because number one, I came from the place where I enjoy the finer things in life, which is a little bit more expensive, a bit more on the luxury side, the more premium side, right? But all along, I mean, number one, due to the background in value investing, value investing always like to buy either the cheaper one or the cheapest one, that kind of thing, because a lot of value. So
Yes.
the mindset was very as cheap as possible, so that as many people can benefit as possible, which is not wrong if you think of it in that aspect. But at the end of the day, business is business. So business, you must have margins. In fact, when you have healthy profit margins, you can do more things for more people, free things for more people, in fact. So at the start, when I thought like sell at this price, there was a lot of resistance. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of like, who will buy? Who will buy? Last time this was 3K, now it's 30K. Who will buy? And then at the same time, they were like, oh, are we worth 30K ourselves? You see, a lot of this, the identity kind of thing. But the fact is that I told them, of course, you're worth 30K, you're worth 50K, you're worth how much ever you think you're worth. Because at the end of the day, it's who you apply your skill to, right? Imagine I have the skill to make you 20% on your investments, right? And I apply it to a person who just came out of army, or the person who is in army right now. Maybe their annual salary, their monthly salary is about $1,000, right? So what is 20% worth to them? $200? Maybe they have $10,000 in their bank. 20% is worth $2,000 to them. But if you ask, same ability, you put this with a millionaire, right? $1 million in his bank, ability to make 20%, same skill, but what is it worth to them? It's worth 200K at least, right? Because the quantum is bigger. So I told them your skill is actually very valuable, but if you have been serving the wrong type of people, or the people who cannot really value your skill, right? Then your skill seems very affordable, very cheap, right? But if you really put your skill with those people who have the higher net worth, the premium market, right? They'll value you more, they'll pay you more as well, and it's easier to do business. Yeah, so really a lot of this changing of identity. Sometimes people, they feel that they got a bit of imposter syndrome, right? Yeah, all of these all surface. We work through it. So the mindset change as well. And of course, the selling, all this, when you're selling a 30K, 50K item versus when you're selling a 2K item, you can't do the same thing as well, right? This is how
Yes.
selling a Casio watch versus selling a Rolex watch is a different kind of mentality as well. So the behavior, the style, a lot of things need to change. So identity and mindset, huge. In fact, even though we grew there in 1 year, the mindset is a constant work in progress, constant work. Like takes about 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and even then it's sometimes people still struggle with the idea of premium market versus the mass market. So yeah, it's a work in progress for everyone.
Okay, that is a huge paradigm shift for me. I mean, even for me, if I want to sell high ticket, I also will need to constantly shift that mindset of mine.
Yeah.
So next question I have for you is what are the biggest failures that you are very proud of that have made you even more successful than you thought you would be?
Okay, so actually, I have a very interesting take to this question, because I mean this is
Yeah,
quite a common question. Usually you ask, hey, what's your biggest failure? So other people can learn from it and maybe
yeah.
avoid it. So I can't name you my biggest failure. I mean, I have many failures, okay? So I can't name you a big failure off the back of my head. However, what happens is that what I learned is that, in fact, I want to change this. I mean, for all the people who are viewing this, right? I want to blow your mind a bit, because
Mm,
this a lot of people, okay, so like what I mentioned, a lot of people ask you what's your biggest failure. So they learn it and then they try to avoid it, hopefully, right? But
correct.
it's a very different. So that is, I feel, avoiding a failure is level one. Okay, avoiding a failure is level one. Number two is embracing the failure, right? You level two is you have a failure, you learn the lessons from it, you admit to it, you embrace it.
Mm,
Level three of failures, right? I would say is to actively seek out failures. Why I say this? Okay, because when I was in university, I had this professor which totally changed my perception of failures. That's why I say it's very hard for me to tell you what's my biggest failure, because let me tell you, my biggest failure will be the next failure that's coming up. Why? It's
okay.
very interesting, right? Because what happens is that he says, right, he's a professor on entrepreneurship. He's in NUS. I mean, you can search him on Douglas Adams. And Douglas, yeah, I think so. That I can't
Okay.
remember his name, right? But what happens is that he says that the problem about why university struggles to create entrepreneurs is because in university, the people who are here are the cream of the crop, right? In academics.
Yes,
And
correct.
the idea of academic success differs a lot from business success. In academic success, in order to become academically successful, you have to avoid failures, right? Because
Mm,
there's this accumulative bar curve and all this kind of thing.
yeah.
So you try to, if you don't fail your exams, you score A, right? You don't fail your exams, you score A. You don't make mistakes, you get higher scores. And then the better your exams is, then you get to attend a good school. The next good school, you don't fail your exams, that kind of thing. So you avoid failure by, you get to the top, the peak of academia by avoiding failures. But it says
Yes.
that in business, the way to get success, business success, is to fail fast and fail often. The more failures you have, the faster you learn. The more failures you have, if provided you learn from it, not just fail for the sake of failing. But the more you fail, you iterate, you improve, it brings you to success faster. So in business, instead of avoiding failures, you need to fail, and you need to fail a lot, and you need to fail fast so that you can get to that success faster. So which is a very contrarian way of thinking, because most of us, we think that to get to success faster, we must avoid failure faster, right?
Mm,
But in business, at least in the world of business, don't say investing, don't say any other things.
okay,
In the
okay.
world of business, the way to get to success quickly is to fail quickly and iterate and improve quickly so that you will hit the final stage, which is success. So so in fact, if you ask me what's the biggest failure, your failures should compound and grow bigger as you grow, right? Last time, maybe my biggest mistake or failure was to invest $3,000, and then I lost $3,000, right? And then but I learned from it. I make more money. Then maybe my next biggest mistake was to invest maybe $10,000, and I lost $10,000, right? But I grew for it, and then now I make few hundred K. And then my next biggest mistake was to invest maybe $50,000, $100,000, and I lost it, right? And then from there I learn and I make millions, right? And the list continues to go on. So I think to see whether a person is growing, right, is to see whether the size of your failure is growing. And if you were to study all great businesses, Amazon, all this, right? You know, when you start off small, right, your business, what's a big business mistake you'll make? Maybe you spend 10K, you know, that kind of thing. And then
Yes.
you lose it, right? Then yeah, sure. Then you lose 100K and then you lose it. Amazon is putting bets of millions of dollars or even billions of dollars, and not all bets will work out. You will lose millions, you will lose billions, but which is why they are a $1 trillion company. Amazon is a $1 trillion company, I think, and Apple as well, and all
Yes.
this.
Correct.
So yeah, it's a very different mindset. So my biggest failure will probably be the next few failures that come down along the road, I guess.
Wow, okay. That is mind blowing because it's like you're telling me that the failure will compound over time and become bigger and bigger. And
Yes.
to fail fast and fail forward is the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, learn from it,
Okay.
because learn from your failures, obviously, the compounded failures, so that
Yeah.
your success can compound as well. Yeah.
Okay. Great. So could you share with me, does your business instinct come naturally? Like how are you able to anticipate what is needed ahead of the time?
Okay, so yes, those people work with and work for me, they did remark that
Yeah.
I have this ability to anticipate stuff.
Yes.
Instinct, yes, instinct is okay. Instinct is a word that comes from time, right? So when you're young, there's
Mm.
no instinct, cause
Yeah.
yeah. But I would say if I were to break down instinct comes from experience, and instinct comes from practice. But the question is, how do I get the experience? How do I get this skill, right? Few things. Number one, yes, experience does make a big part of it. But even before I had experience, I had one thing which I wrote about in my SlingShot book, which is the
Mm.
ability to track numbers. So every time I talk about numbers, right, it sounds like a very boring thing. And I can tell you that I myself, I also think numbers is boring. I never think that I will be an account. I never thought that, actually I still don't think I will ever be an accountant. People who deal with numbers, all this kind of thing. But because I play a lot of strategy games, right? So strategy games,
Okay.
after a while, I mean, all those people who play strategy games, after a while, they realize that, hey, just moving the pieces on the board, or shifting, fantasy Premier League, shifting players around, it's not enough, right? You need some data to back it up. So you start tracking, like, oh, let's say if you're playing fantasy Premier League, the soccer game, you'll track how often this guy scores. If you're playing some board game, you'll see, hey, you go read the rules, you go find out what exactly is happening, right? So
Mm.
in business, same thing as well. Eventually, when you start playing around, it's like, hey, how come I'm not making money here, or how come this is not happening? Then you dive deeper. Every time you dive back into the background, it
Mm.
always ends up with numbers. So I decided to go study a little bit about it, or go find some patterns and all. And after a while, I realized that numbers tells a story. Most accountants will tell you that. And also, there are always patterns that repeat itself. So when you can see the numbers, you can see the pattern, you know what's going to happen. It's like it's a given, right? Like for example, I want to see. Let me tell you, let me make a bold prediction. Okay, bold prediction. I'm
Mm.
going to tell you that December this year is going to be a very rainy year, right? You'll be like, why we know? Because we always track, right? We go
Yeah.
measure
Yes.
how much it rains every month. Then you realize that every year in December it rains a lot. So now December is 6 months down the road, right? But I already predict
Yes.
December is going to rain. So does it look like I can tell the future? Not really, because I know the past, right? So I mean, high chance December is going to be a rainy month. So when that happens, then like, whoa, I anticipated it, but actually the numbers already told us that already. So I think that's where I managed to anticipate. And for those people who obviously may not be so familiar with numbers, then experience lah, right? You have to live 10, 20, 30 years in Singapore, then you realize, actually December, how come it keep raining? Then your experience tells you, but you don't have to live 30 years in Singapore to tell you that it's raining in Singapore in December, right? You just got to check out the last 10 years data, you know that already. So yeah, that's how I anticipate a little bit of how I anticipate stuff. Numbers, experience, and compound together, it gives you this very cool word called instinct. Yeah.
Oh, that is enlightening, right? I mean, I didn't really expect to hear this thing called numbers from you, right? Because I thought you were all about strategy. But yeah, numbers do play a part in business. I think that is something that my audience also need to hear. When you're investing, always study into the numbers so that you know that whether this company can make it or not.
Yes,
So,
actually, in fact, I just want to add on, right? I think
yeah,
it's not that strategy numbers is conflicting. In fact, because of numbers, you can anticipate, you can come up with a better strategy. Like for example, right now, if I'm
yeah,
going to sell umbrellas in this past week, I'm doomed now. It's so hot and that kind of thing. But if I know that December is going to be raining, right? I can create a strategy to sell umbrellas in December, right? So the ability to forecast or predict or anticipate the future allow you to come up with even better strategies, right? Like let's say in December, someone decides to, hey, wow, it keeps raining every day. I'm going to sell umbrellas. Well, it's going to take a very long time for the person's stock to come in, right? To pre-plan all this kind of thing. But because we have very planned forward ahead already, we could do things like buy umbrellas during this hot weather at a cheaper price, right? And then sell in December. So yeah, the ability to anticipate is actually one of the biggest important factor for you to be a good strategist, come up with a good strategy.
cool. So my next question for you is, was there a period of time where you had to execute a business pivot strategy, maybe like during COVID? If there is, could you tell us more about it?
Business pivot. I think COVID we generally all pivoted online, so nothing exciting there. I think
Yes.
yeah, everything just pivoted. But if you were to ask me, right, I think what is pivoting, a lot of people, because why they ask about pivoting is because maybe
Mm,
wow, it's usually a very tough decision to pivot and all this. Actually, if you ask me, pivoting, I mean, as long as you can read the times and you can see things are changing, pivot is natural. It's a necessity, in fact. But I thought
mm,
what's harder is actually closing down a business or business unit. That takes more
mm,
courage, yeah, more courage because there's people behind it. There are things like that.
mm,
So the biggest pivot is actually to like close down and focus on other things or to start a new thing, right?
mm,
So if you ask me, when I think the biggest decision was that when I realized one of the biggest things I learned is that when the market is too small or the audience you're targeting is too small, you either you can call it pivot to another audience, or maybe it's time to just close down this thing and try something else with a different target audience. Because sometimes when the audience is too small, the market is too small,
mm.
there isn't much money to be made or much people buying the
Yes.
thing. And as a result, right, yeah, the business can't grow. It's just stuck. You either have to bring overseas, okay, which there might be a bigger market there, or sometimes if there's no market, then you just have to close it lah. You can call it pivot, I guess. But sometimes if you ask me, I like to think of it as a reset. I think resetting
Reset.
stuff is easier than pivoting because sometimes it pivots assumes that you use what you have currently to serve from a different angle or a different market. But that still means that you have to bring along your old baggages, your current stuff. I rather look at something from a completely new perspective. Like, okay, assuming I have a blank piece of paper, blank state right now, who will I bring along? Who will I rehire? Who will I reserve, and what can I build from scratch to serve these people? So I like to reset more than I like to pivot. I say, yeah.
Great. So have you resetted a lot of times? I
Uh,
mean, in business.
I think so. I mean, not a lot of times, but a few major times. So like now I'm in a
Okay.
period of reset as well, right? I
Yeah.
former company, so reinventing myself to serve the next market. And I can tell you the next market will be a very different market from the last market that I served. So
Mm,
I think a few other times I have to reset was I think previously coming up my previous company thought about e-commerce and all this kind of thing. Right? So I kind of reset, and instead of teaching e-commerce kind of things, I went to help in the area of investing, right? Then now when I'm out of it again, instead of doing some investing related stuff, I'm going to reset, do some health and wellness stuff. So I think we can always reset, and yeah, learn the skills we learn are valuable, but we can always apply it to a different audience in a different niche in a different area. Yeah.
All right, that is what we call adaptability, and you're hearing it from Zachary himself. So, what are some common pitfalls you see businesses for with regards to sales and marketing? Like, how
Common
can they avoid
pitfalls.
that? Yeah, common
Pitfalls.
pitfalls. Yeah.
Usually don't know numbers. So we talk about numbers, right? So I realized that a lot of salespeople are very good at selling, but most of the salespeople don't know what happens behind the scenes. They don't know the cost.
Okay.
Because when you do sales is a very front end thing. So when you realize that, hey, sales, wow, I can bring in a lot of sales. And there's this book, I cannot remember. They always say that your strength will always be your weakness. So for a salesperson who can bring in sales, they always be thinking like, hey, I can, if I don't have enough money, I'll just sell more and bring in more. But a lot of it is also about managing the money that you have earned, learning how to expand, scale, grow, manage, allocate the money effectively, right? This is business administration, business admin, business this is the business operations part, right? It's not very, very sexy. So a lot of I realized that a lot of great businesses have great salespeople, and but eventually they fall because they don't know how to manage the back. And all of these things happens usually when they start to scale. Because as an individual or as a small team, it's all right. The amount of money you make is more than enough to cover the small team and all. But once you start thinking big, expanding, then you realize that, wow, there's so much more that goes into the running of the business, more than just selling. So that's the first thing. For marketing, a lot of pitfalls I see is also that people don't do a lot of tracking of the numbers on the back end, right? So numbers, marketing, people always think it's a very sexy thing, coming out with cool taglines, cool slogans, cool creatives, right? Come out with great headlines. It's usually the kind of thing. Then when they track the numbers, they think about things like click-through rates, all the kind of very standard marketing numbers. But marketing also requires things like checking out how much budget you allocate, what is the ROI on the marketing, and things like that. And a lot of it is that I realized that all the great marketers, very, very creative ones, but behind the scenes, the numbers may not be the strongest, or they only understand one part of marketing, and then they don't understand how it relates to sales or how it relates to the rest of the business operations. So it's always very, very too specialized. Back to what we mentioned at the beginning, right? So too specialized. So I know of a lot of marketers who are great marketers but may not be great business people. But great business people always have to be great marketers and great yeah. So yeah.
That is a very good answer as well, because I think somewhere in your SlingShot Maneuver, I read about the first 10 people that you employ is very good, very important. That will be setting the benchmark for the next 100 employees.
Yes.
Right. So as at your current phase, like who do you aim to serve, and what results do you want to help your audience achieve?
At my current at my very current stage of life. Number one, I think I always serve people who I resonate with. So I like to serve the premium market. I like to I feel it's easier to serve them. Lesser people, higher ticket item, easier for the business, but lesser people. Because to earn the same amount with the mass market, I have to serve a lot, right? And usually for a small SME, that's requiring a lot of manpower. Number two, I realized that when you serve the premium market, I mean, you are able to set your own prices, and you're able to pick and choose your own clients, right? So at mass market, you just serve whoever. You very seldom you reject people lah, right? So and then at that level, the people at least, I mean, I can't say this for everyone, but I feel that people are not as nice as the people at the premium market. So of course, premium market, there are also troublesome people lah. But you see, because you're earning at a higher level and at a healthy profit margins, those people you can say, hey, it's okay. I don't need to serve you. So you can pick and choose your own clients. So I like to serve the premium market. And then for my next stage of life, I think after earning quite a bit and all, I think and achieve some moderate levels of success. I mean, I want to focus a little bit on health. I think health is one thing that a lot of us give up in exchange for our success, right? Long hours, late nights, a lot of drinking, or not maintaining all this kind of thing. So and then I see it's a bit scary because I see a lot of entrepreneurs around me falling sick, some getting cancer, some passing away. It's quite a scary thing.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I don't know, might be a natural thing, might be an age thing. I mean, I think I'm a bit early for this, but I mean, it's always good to start early. So I think the next stage I want to focus on a lot of is wellness. Yeah, and I realized that especially in Singapore where everything is very fast paced, having the ability to slow down, to meditate, to focus on the inner being, it's a sort of a superpower by its own, but it's not something that we are taught since young. So but right now more and more people are finding out about it and discovering about it. So I think this is a great time for me to serve these people and for me to dive deeper into this area as well. So yeah, that's the next group of people I'm serving.
Cool. I mean, I'm all with you because I'm also a great supporter of good health. I think
Yes,
now
I see
in this
you running
era,
so much.
now in this era, a lot of people are getting sick over the slightest things, and
Yeah.
especially in business, I also see a lot of business leaders either they unfortunately pass away or probably have some great illnesses like hidden. Right. So my next question for you is like, could you share with me one life philosophy of yours that has shaped who you are today and who you want to be in the future?
This is a great question. Very seldom people ask me this. I would say one that has served me well. I mean, reinvention allows you to change, right? I'll tell you one that has served me well for a long period of time, which I still continue to do so. Second one, which is something that I learned in the last 1 year, which I thought like, hey, this might be my new motto going forward. So the old one, right? It's to live without regrets. In fact, there's a Latin phrase for it, which I obviously cannot pronounce. Okay, you can go search. Latin phrase, start with V and V something something something. It means to live without regrets. So a lot of things I do, yes, I make a lot of mistakes. I'm the first to admit it, but I want to live without regrets because I think to at the end of your life, like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. Or it's a very heavy thing to weigh upon someone. So I told very early in life, I told myself, hey, anything I want to do, let me go try. Which maybe explains why I try so many things as well, right? So not in terms of skills that I picked up, in experiences as well. I ran skydiving, scuba diving, snowboarding, bungee jumping, every random crazy thing I did it before because I want to know what it feels like. There was a period of time I even had long hair. So they were like, oh, there's a dark time for you. Yeah, I'm like, hey, how many people, guys can say I have long hair, like F4. So I really, everything I wanted to do, I tried. So, and that has served me very well. And it made me who I am today, right? To live without regrets. The next thing, but recently, and I've been living according to that. But recently, also because maybe it's my health era, fitness era, wellness era, I came across this French saying where it means to, it's a French proverb of saying, it says to eat well, love much, laugh often, right? So the French translation is like manger something something, yeah. But eat well, healthily, enjoy. Cause to them French, and their food, right? yeah, and to basically to live in that kind of very fulfilling way, love much, love the people around you, and laugh often, be happy. I thought that was a very attractive way to live, and a little bit explains how the French are today, right?
Right.
So I thought, hey, maybe this is something that in my next half of my, not half lah, hopefully many more years to live, I
Mm.
can live out this philosophy well, to be happy, to be surrounded by love, to be laughing often, enjoying that life. Yeah, I thought that's a new thing I want to live towards lah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I think this probably would be my last question, right? So if there's one important business lesson you would want to teach me today, like what could it be?
Mm, um, important business lesson.
Yeah, the most important one.
Wow. Can I say most important and hardest? Can I
Sure,
address the
sure.
order?
No problem.
Most important, not sexy thing, but most important,
Yeah.
learn numbers for business. Any business to survive, to thrive, to grow, is numbers. It's at the end of the day, business can grow with ideas, can start with ideas, but it grows with mathematics, right? So you got
Okay.
to know your numbers. It allows you to be more decisive, make the right decisions and all this kind of thing. So yeah, you want to grow a business, it's about numbers. But the biggest, most useful business thing the hardest I can tell you,
Hmm.
is learning to trust your gut. Um,
Okay.
this lesson is a lesson which I can share with you now. Some of your listeners might understand it, some might not. Usually, it comes with a certain amount of age and things like that. Because now, after I've been doing business for a period of time, I realized that our gut is more powerful than we think. uh, all your business experience, the relationships that you have with people, all the experiences that you have, right? It's
Hmm.
all contained somehow is contained in your body. So when
Hmm.
something is right, you will know it. When something is wrong, you instinctively know it as well. But when you don't trust it, because you see, and this is a good thing because I shared about two things, right? Numbers and
Hmm.
instinct. So
Yes.
sometimes the number seems right, but the instincts feels off, right?
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very logical person. So the instinct was a very difficult lesson for me to learn. But every time when I look back, the instincts usually serve to be right, even when the
Hmm.
numbers seems okay and something like the instinct. If the instinct says something wrong, usually the instinct's right. But I have a caveat for this. This
Hmm.
instinct thing, you want to trust the instinct, only trust it after maybe you're age 30 years old and above, right? Then
Hmm.
yeah, when you're young, not much experience, your instinct also not calibrated properly. But I would
Yes.
say that wow, the instincts is such a powerful thing that with regards to whether to go into this business or not, whether to work with this partner or not, whether to make certain difficult decisions or not, your instincts usually is serves you very, very well. So you have to learn to trust it. Yeah, but probably the most difficult lesson I would say in business. Yeah.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, I mean, this gut thing, right? I'm also currently learning right now, and sometimes it's also quite difficult to trust it. So I'm also learning
Yeah,
that
but
particular
you see,
lesson.
when you look back, you know, like, hey, actually, there was something that over here they tell me something is wrong, right? You know it, right? So,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Okay. Cool. So then, let's thank Zachary for his insightful answers. Like, I'm really, really grateful that you spend time with us on a Saturday morning, right? So grateful for your time and wisdom. So, I mean, if anybody wants to follow Zach on his social media, on anywhere, I will put the links in the video, right? So, thank you, Zach, again, right, for
thank you.
coming to this interview.